happiness isn't something that you chase down and beat over the head with a club and then drag home to your cave to enjoy forever and ever. It's a choice that you make in every single moment.
This is Justin with We Are Change Orlando, and I am here with Adam Kokesh, civil disobedience activist, former Marine, and author of your new book, Freedom. We are here at the Florida Freedom Festival in Bradenton, Florida today, talking about freedom. Adam, how's the tour been so far? What's the reaction been like? Are people waking up?
The tour has been amazing, and all over the country we get to meet people who are in the process of waking up. You know, we're talking to people who want to hear this message right now, but what's so beautiful to see is in two ways, the culture of the movement is shifting right now in a very critical way. And one is that we're getting away from the fear and the anger and the depression, all that negativity that comes naturally when you wake up to the nature of government, and getting back to the mental freedom, the ability to be happy. Because if you don't know how to be happy, there's no point in being free. And that's really beautiful to see because it makes people better advocates. If you're going out and asking people to join you in your negativity, you're not going to get a really good response. Right. But if you say, hey, not only is this an idea that could, end war forever and the police state and any kind of regulatory oppression in your life at all for all time, obviously, there's a great appeal to that. But if you can say, and by the way, it's made me freer and happier, nobody's going to say, oh, gee, freedom, happiness? I don't know. Who's going to build the roads? It just, when you see it at that level and you can share that. And so I think part of what we're doing with this tour in particular is being a part of that shift and encouraging people to share the message from a place of happiness and positivity rather than the natural negativity that we all feel when we start paying attention.
I hear you talk about this concept of freedom, and you use the term, the phrase, you own yourself. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Well, it's a simple, beautiful fact of human existence. If ownership is absolute control, then you as a free, beautiful, independent human being, by nature of being the only consciousness in this brain housing group, you get to control your body in an absolute sense. And it's immoral for someone to interfere with that by force. It is a violation of your rights. That is the source of our rights. And you might say that if I lock you in a cage or if I put handcuffs on you, well, now I own you. And that exercise of ownership is an external thing that is a violation of your physical rights. But the undeniable right that we all have of self-ownership is to be able to live free in our minds and to be happy about that. And so the physical implications come from that. And a lot of people have this kind of backwards from the historical reference of Thomas Jefferson, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But happiness isn't something that you chase down and beat over the head with a club and then drag home to your cave to enjoy forever and ever. It's a choice that you make in every single moment. And people who get that are much better advocates of the message.
Now, your book has had some good success. Well, it's funny because you talk about success sometimes with books and numbers and how much you're selling, but your book is free.
Right,
so
we're not selling books.
You're not selling it. So, for one, you don't have an excuse. You have to check this book out, for one. But you have had your book...
Free audiobook, free in every digital format possible.
That's right. And you've also had your book banned from the Department of Justice, I heard recently. Now...
No, it was an endorsement. It was an endorsement. When the United States Department of Justice says that your book about freedom is a threat to the good order and security of the institution, we consider that as the highest form of endorsement we could possibly achieve.
It actually sounds like you're getting somewhere if they banned your book there.
Exactly. And a lot of people say, oh, well, jail, not a big deal. That's really the only place that government can effectively ban books anymore. I mean, you ban them in a school, it's just off the curriculum. You ban it in a library, people can still get it. You ban it in military bookstores, who cares?
Right.
But in jails, we actually have, I'll bet more reading gets done in American jails than outside of American jails in America, which is a really sad statement.
Right.
But because we have 2 million inmates in America, 1 in 150 Americans are behind bars. And by the way, when you're in jail, I can tell you from experience, you have plenty of time to read and relax. And I enjoyed my government-induced, taxpayer-funded spiritual retreat when I started writing this book. But yeah, so it's banned in jails, and it's very popular in jails. And the few copies that we've been able to get in, the feedback we've got is incredible because it liberates people from the guilt and emotional bullying effects that they get from being victims of the system.
And they're able to free their mind.
Yeah, so they have to keep...
they really need to.
So they have to write down people's names on the front page of the book as a waiting list for who gets to read that copy next.
You've been pretty active with your civil disobedience, and it's really inspired a lot of people, especially myself, even with some unconstitutional checkpoints. Why do you think it's so important that when we fight these battles that we do it with love instead of fear?
Well, I think it's even more important to stop seeing it as fighting. And I think civil disobedience is one of two things. And one is that you're exposing the violence of the system to wake people up. And it really is more than putting pressure on the system or more than changing a specific law. It's about exposing the violence of the system. It's performance art. And it's a beautiful way to communicate these ideas in a powerful way that reaches people, that uses the mainstream media, if you do it right, to reach people that you never be able to reach otherwise. So that's one really cool thing. The other one is when you're actually challenging a law and getting a policy changed. And I think that's valuable when you have, you know, medical marijuana. We had smoke down prohibition in Philadelphia that led to some decriminalization efforts there. We have, you know, the kind of smoke downs that we've seen obviously in Washington State and Colorado that have gotten them where they are now. In California, everybody's too stoned for medical marijuana. They're just like, we can't even get our stuff together to get, you know, full decriminalization recreational here. But in terms of why is this important, it's really about living by these values. And it's not that it's important to fight. It's not that it's important to stand up. It's important to live free here and let that be manifest in how you relate to the world. And if that is, I'm going to go talk to cops, and I'm going to film cops, and I'm going to protect people who are victims of police brutality that way. That's absolutely a manifestation of something truly, you know, based in love and righteousness. But even more important than that is checking out of all of your relationships that contribute to violence, you know, not paying taxes, being a conscientious consumer, not sending your kids to join the military, things like that. So what I've had a shift in my awareness and in my approach is, instead of doing the kind of ego-driven, headline-grabbing activism that I'm known for, is really focusing on, like, hey, I'm just an author now, you know? I got a book. I want people to read it, not because I want them who already get this message to get it, although it's good to make people better advocates, because I want people like you to understand what it represents as a tool to have the kind of meaningful one-on-one conversations that actually wake people up. I mean, how many people have you converted in Facebook flame wars, or by yelling at someone at a bar, you know, or by doing the political conversation of winning arguments and winning debates, or winning even votes or petition signatures, versus winning converts to a different way of thinking. And I think as the movement matures, as I've matured, I've shifted my focus to that. And I still love seeing guys who are inspired by my work get out and do like really gutsy stuff, and you know, really amazing videos that are being produced every day now. But I think that's the value of that is not measured in views. The value is measured in hearts and minds that are touched and opened.
Well, Adam, thank you so much for spreading this message of freedom with us today and bringing it to Florida. Where can people find out more about your tour dates, and where can they find your book?
It's all at thefreedomline.com. That's it, thefreedomline.com.